This
Janiga.
conference will now be recorded.
Hey
Welcome,
everyone,
everybody.
welcome.
We're
So
uh,
good
we're
to be
excited to
here
get
today.
we're excited to get started here and kick off the new year in the right way. So happy New Year, everybody! And we are looking forward to a great segment here. We have with us Mr. Brian Cowling, who is a world-renowned systems and training expert, who's going to be instrumental in helping everybody do what we do. Whether you're running a business that is a multi-million dollar business or a startup business or anything in between, Brian, you're certainly a master in business coaching and systems and how to get businesses running efficiently and effectively to create more time and generate more business. And certainly glad to have you on board. It's an exciting time for us, and we're going to do some great things together. So we've got a good audience today, and we're going to continue to build on that. And glad to have you here. So
Well, thanks so much. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
should be some good times. So we're gonna start with why it is we're doing what we're doing. So this is exciting times for VIP Access Home Center. Right now we're engaged in uniting together to make the community a better, safer place to live, work, and play. And we're able to do that by combining efforts of local businesses and also businesses at a national level, as well with the best systems and training available, and really banding the community together with levels of government and business owners, and the community at large, to unite for a common purpose of making the community a better, safer place to live, work, and play. And we're able to do that by effectively changing lives and building the futures of others around us. And we've been doing some great work over the past little while, and we're going to continue to build on that. And we're excited to have our new members join today. So congratulations for everybody that's jumped on board here, and we're going to do some great things together. So Brian, we'll turn it over
Well,
to you for a bit here.
yeah. Well, you know what? It's pretty fascinating. When I first heard of the concept of the VIP Access Center, been involved for many years at trying to, on a local level, for any business. One of the biggest things that I do is marketing. Understanding why do consumers say yes to a product? Why do they ignore other products? Why do they flat out say no to some? More powerful than any force in marketing is a referral. We all understand this. We all understand as a business, the easiest lead to convert is somebody where they call us and said, so and so referred me to you and told me to call you. The sales pitch is easier. There's in some cases not much of a sales pitch. The average personality type, if you ever study the DISC profile, which is something that is in our training that we get to, the DISC has 4 different personality types, and the most common one is an S. It's a steady person. And those people, 60% of the population, like doing business with somebody who they feel that is a friend or that a friend has referred. So the question has always been, how do we get more referrals? And I'll tell you what, I was very excited the first time that we sat down and started to talk about the concept that you created, the concept that you invented or hacked upon, but it was just something that you did automatically, where you recognized that if you could involve people in a cause, something that was greater or bigger than themselves, it increased the amount of referrals that came within the group of people that were involved in that cause. So that's kind of a good way to explain it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've been able to grow my business, multiple businesses. Actually, I own quite a number of different businesses, not all interrelated, but the principles have always been the same. That it's grown from the ground up into very successful groups of businesses, all from referrals, from word of mouth, from doing the right thing, and from being a leader in the community and doing great things together in the community. And a byproduct of that is everybody works with you, within that
Right.
network, and it's been fantastic.
So one of the purposes of today is really kind of where do we get started? So when we're jumping into a VIP Access Home Center network, first off, let's talk about the exclusivity and kind of the size of each network. So if you're joining a VIP Access network, you've joined a network that is pretty exclusive to a local community or a local area. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's right. It's everybody takes a category in their exclusive category, and they're the only ones in it and are able to receive and do business within that category exclusively through that center. So very simply put, you have one real estate company, one mortgage company, one framer, one drywaller, one roofer, one orthodontist, one chiropractor, and everybody bands together to do great things in the community and also supports each other. So the three big things that we asked everybody when they were joining, and the people that are on this webinar today, is very simple. If you could do something great in your community, would you do it? Overwhelmingly was yes. Would you volunteer some time for free? The answer was yes, of course. And who else would you bring with you? And so those three questions have been able to continually build upon the network for people to come in and work really well with each other.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and say that when we're getting started, what are some of the first things that we're looking to do? We looked at that and said, what do most business owners need on a local level, on a marketing level, on a business level, and on a systems level? There's a lot of needs, and we tried to put those in a specific order to go ahead and say, if somebody joins a VIP Access Center, not only do we want to provide them with more referrals, we want to provide them with more assistance in how to have a more successful business. So I've been able to create a lot of successful businesses, and I've consulted with a lot of businesses to make them more successful. You've created many successful businesses and investment opportunities for other people as well. So let's kind of talk about over the next, let's go ahead and say we've created, what do we have here? A series of 12 weeks that we're looking at sharing some business knowledge and information that we've acquired that step by step helps set each of us up to be more successful in what we're doing as part of the VIP Access Center. Because let me just say this, if you're a member of your center and you get more business, we all know that more business leads to more referrals, and it just helps us grow the network across the board, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's an exciting, robust training program that's going to be rolling out over the next 12 weeks. And some of the topics that we're going to include is, the introduction to the system and how to get started, universal business building principles, customer relationship management system and payment systems that we can use, and a number of other topics. What's really interesting is, and for some people that may be new to business or they've been in their own business for a long time, is when we speak with many hundreds and even thousands of small business owners, we all have the same struggles that we encounter from time to time, be it lead generation or, if I only had more leads, I could do, if I only had more leads, I could do more business. I'm capable of doing the work, but I just don't have enough leads to keep me busy. Or I have too many leads and I don't have enough staff to execute and getting the work done. Or, anything in between. I'm having cash flow problems, the roller coaster ups and downs of cash flow coming in and going out, and how does it balance and things. So whatever those problems are, it's really interesting that no matter what profession it is or what business you own, your experiences are similar, and that's what we've been able to really put together. And you've been a huge piece of this to be able to assist by giving knowledge to everybody.
Well, I appreciate that, and you know what? It's very exciting for me to talk to people about some of the concepts. You mentioned universal business principles. What is the main reason that most small businesses either aren't that successful? They're always struggling. They're trying to get by, or they fail. Do you know 80% of small businesses fail within the first 2 years, or they just continue struggling and struggling and are never able to get over that hump? There are specific reasons behind that. We'll break down some common theories behind that and things to set up to make you successful. So with each of these sessions, I'd like to keep them somewhere around 30 to 45 minutes so we can get focused and really targeted on what it is that we want to do. So now that we've talked about the concept behind the VIP Access Center and what we're trying to do, let's go ahead and talk about a little bit of business growth. And I'll tell you how I like to set that up, Jason. I like to set that up with, I've got a little session that I start with on mindset. Call this the Rise of Champions, because I'll tell you this, being a business owner who early on in my career struggled a lot, I know that when I came in a lot of days, I wasn't extremely my mindset was not in a great place to be able to step in and do what I needed to do because I was kind of bogged down by the business. Do you know the type of feeling that I'm talking about? Maybe there's a lack of cash flow. There's a lot of time being spent away from home. Maybe life at home isn't as good. Do you know? You can kind of relate to that, right?
Yeah,
I
I
think
know
that.
you're
Oh,
talking
there we
about
go.
the life of a typical small business owner of
That's
getting
right.
up early in the morning and planning your day, and then going out to a job site maybe and doing some work, doing whatever working in your business, and then taking a break somewhere through the middle of the day to go meet someone else for your next business that you're trying to bring in for later on in the week or month, and then you get home and it's 6, 7 o'clock at night. You might have time for dinner, and then once you're done dinner, you got to hurry and check your emails, go on the computer, create invoices, start billing people, do all your marketing, looking for the next deal or the next business opportunity. And before you know it, it's midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and guess what? You get to go to bed for a few hours and do it all over again the next day.
Do it
So
all over again.
so it actually becomes somewhat of the craziest job in the world if you're operating that way. And that's the story of most small business owners. And really what you've created here is a solution to that, to actually give people their lives back, in addition to generating more money, more business, doing better things, but also creating more time. And I think that's really amazing, to be able to create more time, for yourself and for others.
Right. Well, let me do this. Let me go ahead and I want to get into this mindset a little bit because when we get caught in that cycle, it's very difficult to get out of. So having the capacity to change our paradigm or change our current perception of our business is really the first step. And if we can start to see that, hey, there could be a possibility of some light at the tunnel and believe it, then we are in a better capacity to be able to do what we want to do. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I'd like to go ahead and go through the setup for what we're going to go through over the next 12 weeks about growing our business, about getting connected to the VIP Access Center and the power of what comes when you can take a cause and unite people around the cause. So we're going to get into, one of my favorite things to talk about, cause referral. How do you get more referrals from people by involving them in the causes that you're doing? Those are going to be exciting. But mindset is more important than really practically anything. The way that you view your business. You've heard the old saying, you are what you eat. And we can take it much further and really draw it out to a better conclusion to say you are what you believe. So if you wake up in the morning and you don't feel that your business is in a good place, you may not feel very good about where your business is. And that really dictates, we call that a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, we don't counter that by just saying, oh, we're happy all the time. And, you see people who are just a little bit too bubbly and over the top. That's problematic as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, Jason, if that's fine. Anything else to add before I jump into this?
No, it's great.
Okay. All right. So can you see my screen right now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let me go ahead and talk about the idea. I call this the rise of champions. Because if we think about ourselves, do we consider ourselves, in a lot of cases, we started our business because we looked at ourselves and we said, I can provide something of value to the people around me. I have something that I bring to the table, and we saw something in ourselves. If we didn't, we probably wouldn't have started our business. We probably would just have continued working at the place that we were. We would be on a line creating something or doing something, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people that do that, but certain people step outside of that mold and they say, I have something of value to bring to the table. Do you consider yourself a champion of a cause, of something that you can bring to the table? So let's go ahead and look at a champion and kind of break that apart in relationship to our business. Now, Alan Snyder, I love this quote. He says, answer this question, and we will have captured the crucial ingredient which lets the human spirit soar. Think about the visual picture of being able to soar. It is my belief that in life, that's what we were created to do, And in a lot of cases, our thinking keeps us from getting there. Now, we may look at it in a lot of cases, say, Brian, well, it's not my thinking, it's my circumstances. But our circumstances lead to our thinking, which leads to our feeling. And our feeling will dictate where we go, what we do, how long we do it, and at what capacity. So think of this, if I show up in the morning, but I have had a really bad night, maybe I had gotten in an argument at home, maybe my kids are having some problems at school, what am I projecting when I get to work the next day? I may be carrying a lot of those things. And so I'm not really able to step out and soar with the ability and the thing that the way that I was meant to. So my belief is that every single person has the ability to be a champion. A champion is somebody who takes their vision for what they would like to complete, their vision for what they would like to bring and offer to other people, and I champion that cause. So I want you to think of it a little bit differently. People think about being a champion, but we are all taking a cause or a purpose or something that we are, that we believe in, and we champion that to other people. Now, the ability with which we do that depends on, you ever see a salesperson, Jason, that really doesn't believe in what they're selling? You really don't end up buying from that person because you just don't, they don't believe in it. How are you going to buy it? You know what I mean?
Exactly. There's no passion, or you can see it whether they buy into it or believe in the first place. And you know, that's a key component. You're behind the eight ball right from the beginning. If you don't believe in what you're doing and what your mission is and what you're selling and what product you're putting out there, then your customers are going to see that a million miles away.
Right. So I want to set up every single business owner with the first belief that you do have the ability to be a champion, but you want to identify what you're championing. What is the value that you bring to the table, and do you believe in it? So sometimes it helps to start looking at our perspective. So let's take a look at Webster. Webster says he defines a champion as one who fights on behalf of another, continues that, one who shows marked superiority. Now I'm going to go ahead and break these two down. These get pretty important as we take a look at them. We all end up fighting for other people. So the question is who is your business for? Are you creating your business for yourself, or are you creating it for the enhancement of other people's lives? This is a key component in whether a business ends up doing extremely well. We've all heard Zig Ziglar. Hopefully, we follow Zig Ziglar. You know, if you listen to Zig, he says you help enough other people get what they want, you'll always get what you want. If you're not following these people like Jim Collins, Good to Great, you're not following Zig Ziglar. There's all of these. If you want to know about leadership, John Maxwell. These are all people who I follow who help me be a better person. But think about this. Why did you create your business? What is the purpose of your business? Are you looking to make other people's lives better? And if so, how? What does what you do and what you produce, what does it bring to the table for somebody else to make their life better? You've got to quantify that. And now you're fighting on behalf of another. You're becoming a champion in somebody else's life. Two, one who shows marked superiority. This just leads into what I was talking about a minute ago, and that is, who are you following that makes you superior to everybody else around you? Very big question. I'm sure, Jason, you could identify people in your life that you followed that helped you be superior in your fields of business and the things that you're doing, couldn't you?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest piece of advice that I ever received was, you know, if you want to excel in a particular field or an area, chase people that are better than you. And right. So you look at it and you simply say, well, you know, if I want to be a better real estate developer, who am I going to follow? The biggest and best real estate developers out there that are doing it better than I am. And the byproduct is I'm going to become better. So continually follow, listen, seek out the guidance and expertise of people who have been there and done that, and who are very successful and seeking out their guidance when they've already achieved what it is you're setting out to achieve. The easiest roadmap to follow is one that's been created for you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time, because, you know, no matter what business you're running, if you look around, it's already been established. And chances are there's some pretty good high profile people running a business similar to yours in whatever marketplace you're in that you can follow.
Right. So I think a good thing to think about here is to go ahead and look at who are you following that's going to help you be an expert. Who or what, there may be certain sources that you need to be reading or looking into. For me personally, I never went to college, but I made some decisions. One, I want to be an expert in what I do, so how am I going to do it? There's a lot of knowledge out there, and I'll tell you what, when I was a kid, it came back to encyclopedias. You remember that, right, Jason? we didn't have the internet. We had to try to look up things or find books on it. There's a lot of great information out there. So what are you reading? I'll go ahead and tell you this. To show Mark's superiority, I made a decision at some point that I would read one chapter of a book every single day. And if you think about that, you can read a chapter of a book in somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes, depending on the book and the size of the chapter. But it was a decision I made to learn something. And then I started to say, well, I want to know more about leadership. I want to know more about sales. I want to know more. It didn't matter the category. Spirituality. You know, if you're confused about those things, go ahead and make a decision to learn more. So again, if I believe I have the ability to be a champion, I go ahead and find out, what am I championing? Who am I fighting for? And what am I offering them that makes their life better? And then who am I following that helps me get to the point where I'm showing a marked superiority? Now, this is a little test that I like to give people. It's called perspective. Now, Jason, have you ever gotten in an argument with your 4-year-old? Let's go ahead and say that the 4-year-old steps up and you let him know that grandpa was your father. And 4-year-old really doesn't get that. No, that's grandpa.
No.
He's not your daddy. And they will argue with you. Yes, they will argue with you till they're blue in the face that is not your daddy, that's my grandpa.
That's right.
But
absolutely.
When we take a look at something like this, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that same idea is how a lot of people approach life. They are looking at what they already know as solid, irrefutable fact. And when you see things as that, if you already know everything, you can't learn anything. So in this little test here, we have several different things that we can see. So half of the people looking at this image will say that they see an Indian. Half of the people looking at it will say that they see an Eskimo. Now, the reality is that both are in the same picture. But if the person who only sees the Indian head is adamant about the fact that that's all that's there, will they ever see the Eskimo?
No, exactly.
They're never going to see it because they're so focused on the fact that I'm right about what I see, and they can't really be taught anything. You know, a full cup, you can't fit any more water in it. So it's very important to start to find out what the absolutes are that exist in your life, about your business, with your family, everywhere. Start to identify absolutes that keep you from changing your perspective, because a good business owner and somebody that can grow a good business is somebody that can learn outside of the things that they already know. So we could take a look at a couple more here. You see this in this particular picture, there's two people facing each other, or it's a vase. And again, I can be very adamant about the fact that that's a vase, but there actually are two faces. And another interesting thing is sometimes it takes somebody else to come along and point it out to you for you to see it. So rather than trying to do everything on your own, who can you bring along that can show you a new way? And that's really what we're doing here. This particular picture, there would be a bunny rabbit. If you look at the ears facing off to the left, and if you look at what's facing off to the left as the bill of a duck, then you can see a duck. Pretty fascinating, isn't it? All right, so the idea here is that our perspective changes everything. Once I point out to you that there is a duck in that picture when you thought it was a bunny, everything changes. What are those epiphanies that you can have in your business? Where are you stuck? When we see things in life, in our business, we see them only through the lens of the knowledge that we currently hold. This is a very important thing to think about here and realize in your business. You only see what you currently know. That's it. You will not be able to see things outside of that. So what percentage of the world's knowledge and information do you think that you hold? Okay, so I think I'm a pretty smart guy. I've read a lot of books, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I probably have a very small percentage, less than 5% of the knowledge in the universe, maybe less than 1% when we start to think about how big the universe is. But I actually know that. So that keeps me from feeling like I'm adamant or I know all the answers. So the knowledge that we currently hold is made up of information that we've gained from the past. Of course, we call that wisdom. So let's carry that out for because I want people to have an epiphany here. What we currently see and comprehend is limited by the amount of knowledge we've gained so far. Okay? This is where we start to realize that the problems that we currently have created in our business, all of those problems were created in our current state of knowledge. So we can't solve those with the same thinking and knowledge we have. This is a massive epiphany for a lot of people to reach a point where you go, that's why I keep running into the same issues and problems over and over again. In your businesses, Jason, have you ever run into the same issue where you keep hitting it over and over and then you're wondering what the solution is?
Yeah, tons of times, and regardless of what the business is, they're the overarching themes and problems are common. You know, the interesting thing is out of this also creates the opportunity because this is also the paradigm that the competitors in the marketplace are operating under for the most part. And when you start introducing and bringing to the table the stuff you bring to the table, and what we're doing collectively here with VIP Access Home Center is we actually can use that to our advantage, because when we start doing things differently to produce better results than our competitors, we're able to leave them behind in that area.
Right. Huge epiphany to start to think about. We all could probably think about somebody that we know that we would call, let's go ahead and say, pig-headed. Oh, they're just set in their ways, Brian. But if you cannot think of anybody else who you see that, maybe you're that person. Because, guys, a lot of us that own businesses, guys, I've been here for a large portion of my life. I really felt that I knew everything and I treated other people that way until I reached a point, it's kind of like that 18, 19, 20-year-old. They know everything. I don't know if who else has a 20-year-old. I've got one at home, and dad is pretty dumb, okay? They've got life figured out. You've been there before, Jason?
I know what you mean with
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, but if we've never gotten to that point where we come outside of that, we may still be there. Very important to ask us. I deal with a lot of business owners who I would put under the category of pig-headed. So one big step that needs to take place to facilitate growth is, are you willing to look at your life and your business through a different lens? Are you willing to look at it from another perspective? Some people, you try to talk to them about their business and they get very defensive. Very defensive. If you find yourself getting defensive, that's the wrong posture to take. Okay? When given an opportunity, we always take one of two paths. Always. We either make the most of what we've been given, or we make excuses as to why we cannot do it. So I talk to a lot of business owners, and this is where we get stuck. It's excuse after excuse after excuse. So what are your excuses in your business? It's a good exercise to go ahead and write those down. If you find yourself giving reasons why you're not being successful, write those reasons down. You want to talk about those, and we want to go ahead and make sure that you start to talk about, hey, what is a way to get out of this? What is a way to come out of this? Now, let me go ahead and talk about an interesting perspective here, ADD. Most business owners are going to have some form of what they call ADD. I just have trouble focusing, Brian. That's why I'm all over the place. I'm running over here doing this, running over here doing that. And that's fine. We are problem solvers. We are thinkers. We are creators. We think outside of the box. I think people took that designation and labeled it as people that just don't fit into that cookie cutter norm. They don't fit on an assembly line. Many of you, if you got on the interstate right now, in the morning during rush hour traffic and sat there in your car, you say one thing: how the hell do people do this every single day? You look at an assembly line where a person has been on it for 25 years, putting the same widget together with the same wheel, and you're going, how do they do that? I could never do that. Well, We use ADD as a gift and as a tool, something that helps us think outside of the box and create instead of as a crutch. So my ADD is not a crutch to say, oh, I can't do that. If I see myself using it in any regard for a situation where it says I can't do that, then we have a problem. So if you believe you can't, you are right. That was Henry Ford that said that. And I'll go ahead and tell you this, Jason. You mentioned early on in your career somebody who told you something impactful. One of my first bosses, I was about 12 years old, and I was trying to do something, and I said, I can't do this. And he said, Brian, can't never could because it never had a chance. Think about that. Didn't have the ability to move forward at all or fix it because my belief currently was, I can't do this. So if you believe you can't, you're right.
So here's an interesting,
go ahead.
Interesting add-on to that. You think about different perspectives in business, and some days we wake up and we say, you know, this is difficult, this is hard, I don't want to do this, or I can't do this, or whatever the situation is. We have a good friend, mutual friend down in San Diego that is a Marine Corps guy in the United States military, and you talk about their mindset. And anytime that I have difficulty coming up with a solution or saying, you know, maybe I can't do this or whatever, I just think about, imagine operating as a Marine and you're operating in enemy territory and you have limited resources because you're in behind enemy lines. The thought of giving up or can't is not even in their vocabulary. There is no other option. It's just you go and you achieve the final result desired because the alternative is you die.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have that kind of perspective, it changes everything, because, you know, it's like going and taking a multiple test choice. You have A, B, C, and D is I can't and I give up.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not on the page, so it's only A, B, C that you can choose from, and you can't choose, can't, or give up, then it's not an option. So it becomes not even something you consider or think about. And that's really
I love that thinking. It's kind of cliche to some people, but really think about this. I don't know. Have you ever seen the movie Interstellar, Jason?
No, I haven't.
So in that movie, and this is a guy. Oh gosh, I'm really bad with names for the stars, but he is driving this spaceship in space, and there's a massive explosion. And the only thing that he has to get him back home is sinking into the atmosphere, and he has to catch it and reattach to it so that he can get back home. And they're going to die if he doesn't get it. And what he has to do is match its speed and its spin, which is greater than the amount of force that a brain can take without passing out. And they tell him that's not possible. And what he says is, no, you're right, it's not possible, but it's necessary. It's what has to be done in order for us to survive, in order for us to make it. So what are the things that you think aren't possible that could be possible if we only found a way to do it? So my belief is always this. It's always not that I can't do it. I may not know how to do it right now, but I'm going to go find out. This is a great quote right here. The only thing that stands between you and what you want in life is the will to try it and the faith to believe it possible. So think about the combination of those two things. There's a lot of people who will take some of my business systems that I have and they'll say, you know what, I'll give it a try for 6 months. Giving something a try, but not believing that it's possible is usually going to be a failure. Now, let's say we go another way and we have people that are just overly happy and they believe everything. Oh, they have all the faith, but they don't ever try it. They don't ever do it. Oh, I believe it's possible. So this combination of things is a very powerful combination of two things that lead to success in a business. Remember, somebody said it wasn't possible, and I said, well, it may not be possible, but it's necessary. This has to be done. If I want my business to survive, this is what has to be done. So we need the will to try it and the faith to believe it possible.
And you know, the great thing here, Brian, is that all the answers are right in front of you. They're right in front of everybody on this webinar and everybody that's a part of VIP Access Home Center. Whatever problem you're experiencing or whatever is preventing you from having the business look exactly like you want it to look like and have it serve your life and have your life look how it wants to, the answers are right here in what you have brought to the table. And so there's a big difference between listening to a webinar and saying, yeah, that's a great idea, and then when the webinar is over, closing your computer and going and watching a Netflix or anything else, and waking up the next day and just going and doing everything the same way you just did it. So let's talk just for a quick second about a recipe for success. Is to have, anytime you're on these webinars or coaching sessions, is to have a notebook out in front of you, or have a different screen set up so you can take notes and good ideas and things that pop to your head that come up in these conversations. And then right beside it, have a separate category that says, what am I going to do to implement this? Because just hearing it is one thing, but if you fail to implement it, it's not going to help your business. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's really big. And you know what? As we move forward through this series, it is going to get extremely exciting as people start to have epiphanies about the things that need to be put in play that they knew nothing about in order for their business to be more successful. But it all starts here. It starts with the will to try it and the faith to believe it possible. So let's talk a little bit about our paradigm. Okay, our paradigm, this is the model, structure, or framework upon which all of your thinking occurs. So each of us has a box in which we've determined, here's how I think about things. Now, every single thing we think about comes from this box. So it's very important to understand what that box, what the parameters are. So how do you feel? A lot of this beliefs that we have come from feelings. So if I wake up in the morning and I don't feel very good about everything, then my business is probably going to be headed in that direction. So it's very important to go ahead and look at our paradigm. When I think about my business, how do I feel? How do I feel when I have a bad day? When I'm growing my business, does it excite me or does it give me fear? Do I back off? When I think about my personal life, with the things going on personally, how does it make me feel? These are all things that affect our structure and our paradigm and how we think about our business. When I think about my finances, I am ultimately who I think I am. So negativity can creep in. And I love what Jim Rohn says. He says, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. How many of us can look at one of those 5 people, or maybe several, and determine I'm hanging out with some very negative people that are really ruining my career, my business, and my life? Do we need to put some boundaries around there? If you have people speaking negativity to you and making you feel bad in these areas, it will affect your business. So here comes in the big time for a change in your paradigm. What you currently see as your life is only your current interpretation of the situation based on the knowledge currently in your head. Now, this is exciting for a lot of people, because think about this. I can add new knowledge and new information and currently change everything about myself. I can change what I project. I can change who I am. I can change all of it, because everything that I currently see myself as is only my current interpretation of the situation based on the knowledge I currently have. Once you know everything, you can't learn anything. This is a pretty fascinating concept, wouldn't you say, Jason?
Definitely. If you're not open to it, you're not going to be able to receive new information and be able to change and modify and keep up or ahead of the curve of your competitors as well.
Right. Here's a couple of great books that I would suggest at this point. Visioneering is a book by Andy Stanley for people that don't have a clear vision of where they'd like to go. How do you create a vision that helps you see where you're headed and what you'd like to do for your business? On thinking, Think and Grow Rich. This was the first business book that I ever read. This changed my perception of myself, my life, my business. It changed the way that I think. It changed the way that I wake up in the morning. It changed what I do as a routine to get ready for the day. I don't know if you've ever adopted any of the principles out of that, Jason, but that's a fascinating book, isn't it?
Definitely is, yeah. Everybody should be reading that one. There's a number of books, and I think at one of the webinars we're putting on, we're going to be talking about a complete list of books that they're really important for the success of your business.
Right. So, I got ahead of myself earlier, but here's Zig's quote: "You can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want." So this is just carrying on with the idea that we are looking to be champions in other people's lives and step outside of the idea that my business is for me. If I do my business for me, I'm going to have trouble creating what it is that I wanted to create because it's about the wrong person. So showing superiority comes down to, I got Frederick von Schiller here. Only those who have the patience to do simple things perfectly will acquire the skill to do difficult things easily. This it's a pretty deep concept or thought. What are the simple things that you skip over, that you don't have the patience for, that are keeping you from getting the skill that's necessary to do some of the difficult things? These are all homework ideas. These are all things that I say, go ahead and write them down and spend some time thinking about them. What are the simple things in your business that need to be done? Some of these things are things that we don't like to do. So rather than me doing them, maybe I'm thinking about how to get them done. Do I need to leverage myself through an admin, through an assistant? What are the difficult things that I don't like doing? What are the difficult things that I love doing? Have you ever put your a list in place of the things that you love to do in your business and the things that you don't like to do? And Jason, what do you do when you run into something that you love to do or don't like to do, and you put it on a list? How do you leverage that out?
Well, I look simply for who is the best person to do this job in a particular situation. If you think of it in an analogy of a football team, uh, if the situation calls for a field goal,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to call the kicker onto the field to kick that ball. You're not going to have the quarterback kick the ball. You're certainly not going to have the head coach kick the ball. So I always look at every situation, and even though I am the head coach, for lack of a better analogy, I am the head coach in my company. Um, I'm not the guy that does everything because, quite frankly, there are people out there that are much better than I am at doing that. And
Mm-hmm.
my time could be better spent doing something else while that's being performed even better than the way I would perform it. And I think that's one big mistake that a lot of business owners make, is that they think they have to do all things themselves.
I love bringing up this concept, and we're going to get into this more when we start talking about the E-Myth from Michael Gerber and the 3 parts to every business and how do we delineate those, because it is a massive problem to try to do everything yourself. A lot of business owners do think that. So here's some of the simple things. I wrote a list down, and I think you'll enjoy this. First off, spend specific time working on your business and not always in your business. So if 100% of your time is working in the business, you'll always just be in the business. You'll never ever get out of it. You will always be the employee in your business working and doing the physical things. So we'll break that concept down later, but right now I want to throw out the idea of it. Think about the idea of what if I set aside 20% of my work week, put it right on the calendar to set aside all morning from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Friday to spend time working on my business. What are things that are going to help my business grow? And I set aside time to work on it. Another one. Hold on a second. It's not forwarding. Hunger and thirst for knowledge. What are the things that I don't know that I want to know? And don't just put it on a list. Do you know how many pages of a book that the average person reads, Jason? The average person
I'm not sure.
only reads 87 pages out of a book, and the average book has 287 pages. So they get about a third of the way through it. Yeah, what changes that is hungering and thirsting for new knowledge and new information, and then going specifically after that. Next one on the list here is determine your personal level for success. I think it's a mistake to go in and look at your competitor. Maybe you started a small business and there's a massive competitor in town and you're always looking at that person. But your level for success is different than theirs. You know, they may have shareholders, they may have a board, they may have a lot of different things. What is your level for success? Where do you want to go? So some people say, well, you know, I just want to make a living. What living? When do you want to retire? How much money would you like to have in your bank when you retire? These are all things that Think and Grow Rich help with. And not only that, we're going to do a business planning worksheet. I'm not sure which week that is, Jason, but we have that coming up. That'll be exciting. Next, focus on the goal that has been set. So what if you spent specific time once that goal is in place, focusing on it? I like to use this analogy. A lot of people say, let's say you had a goal of going to Oklahoma. but the only thing that you knew about Oklahoma is, let's go ahead and say you are in Washington, D.C., and you know that Oklahoma's due west. And the only thing you had as a tool to get there is a compass. So you got in your car and started driving west. Are you going to hit Oklahoma? Probably not. I mean, you could hit it by accident, but you have a goal with no real plan in place. So what is the plan for reaching the goal that you've been set, and then focusing on that plan? That can change. Those are simple things to do. They just need to be done. Next, always measure your results. You ever play any basketball, Jason? And you are got a bunch of guys just shooting the basketball, and then somebody says, "Let's keep score." What happens?
Everything changes. Now you're playing for real.
Oh,
The whole everything changes in the game.
The mood changes, everything. It just got
Intensity.
real. So what are the results? This is simple. This is part of the thing that would go under spending time working on my business. What are the results that we have from what we've done? And then lastly, this is a four-letter word to a lot of people, but what am I willing to sacrifice? Any business owner that has been successful could probably put some things that they put down, that they've sacrificed to get where they are. I'll go ahead and put down one of mine. I used to be a really good golfer. I used to love golfing, and I kind of gave that up. Used to play a lot of paintball. I used to do it several times a week, and I realized that that was one thing that while I was building my business, I needed to put to the side and sacrifice that so that I could build what I wanted to build. So what are the things that are taking up your time that are keeping you from being the success you want to be? Maybe for a time you sacrifice that so that you can get where you want to go. And a quick word on sacrifice. Be really careful with sometimes we will sacrifice our families in this particular area. And I love a good personal friend of mine, Dr. Ike Reichard, author of several books. He said that we're always juggling. We have a lot of balls in the air. And, you know, they're all made of rubber, and we can kind of drop our business time and again, and we can drop our fitness a little bit, our personal health. But our family is one ball that's made of glass. So when we're talking about sacrifice, we really have to be careful, because we can get hyper focused on our business. And I'll tell you what, we can miss a lot of our lives, of the kids growing up and things like that. So very important to make sure. For me personally, I used to put it on my calendar just to make sure that at specific times I did not neglect my duties as a father, where I needed to be, when I needed to be there. My kids always expected me to be home. Just go ahead and throw this out there, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So I always scheduled evening appointments on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I was home. I was home for dinner. I was home all evening to do the playing with the kids and everything. I wasn't going to sacrifice that. So, you have young kids as well, Jason, and sometimes it's a challenge balancing that, all the things that need to do with with what's going on, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And putting it in the schedule, and realizing that, booking time with it just as you're booking time with the meeting is very important to do that. And you do cover that off as we roll things out here when we start talking about the universal building principles and how to set up your days and your calendars and things like that, and time blocking and mixing, working in your business, working on your business, mixing in family life and downtime and various things like that, because it does help when you have that balance.
Right.
It helps you become more productive in all areas of your life.
It does, definitely. So when we're visualizing our goals, and I'll kind of finish up with this here, we start to ask some questions. What is my primary aim? Primary aim really would be, when I leave this earth, what do I want written on my tombstone? What do I want to leave behind as a legacy? That's a primary aim. If you don't know what that is, or you haven't determined that, definitely read Think and Grow Rich and start to come up with these things. All three of these questions will be helped in reading that one book. Where do I see myself in 5 years? Can you visualize it? Can you go ahead and look at right now, close your eyes, then get a piece of paper and start writing. Where do I see myself in 5 years? Where do I see myself in 25 years? If we can't visualize that, then the question starts to become, what am I even doing? What am I doing, and why am I doing it? If we don't have a powerful enough why, then we probably won't have an extremely successful business in a lot of cases. So I run into that with a lot of companies that I come into. I have to get them and their employees connected to the why before we really become more successful. So these are all really fantastic setups. So hopefully you've taken some good notes on getting ready for what we're going to walk into as we start to look at the components of a business, the components of a successful business next week. Jason, any more thoughts on this before we kind of leave everybody and come back in a week to talk a little bit more?
Yeah, just that to explain and exactly what we're doing here on the rollout and what things we have planned is we're going to be doing the onboarding on the Wednesday evening sessions from 6 to 7, and then we're on the Tuesdays, training Tuesdays. We're going to be 6 to 7 for a series of 12 different topics, and each topic is directly relevant to building your successful business and learning from each other. And it's done in a step-by-step format. So for people to take their notes, where do I begin? There's a lot of information that you gave today and we shared with people today, and it can be overwhelming to some. So we do is we slow it all down and we break it down step by step exactly what to do and what not to do to grow a successful business. And even if you've been in business for 10 minutes or 30 years, it's also for people that are experienced and been in business for a long time, it's a great checkup to be able to see what you're currently doing and identify what problems you're currently having and how you can solve them. And the great thing about our center is that everybody is united together to help each other through business. So I'm going to run into problems in my own business that somebody from the center has experienced and how they solved it. And certainly with your knowledge and experience, we should be able to solve any problem that we come into and really be able to avoid a lot of the mistakes that others have made. And we should be able to grow our business a lot quicker, more effectively, and gain more time and more business as we do that.
Well, it's an exciting undertaking, and I look forward to walking through it through this series with everybody.
That's great. Yeah, thanks very much for doing that.
Well,
do we have any questions from the first session at all from anybody? You can go ahead and put that in under the chat.
Or if you just like to raise your hand, we can bring you in live and answer any questions that you have. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in under the chat box or anything else.
Yes, you answered it all, man.
Yeah, looks like we're pretty clear on everything. It'll start to get exciting. We want to talk about some real-world examples on marketing, and we'll talk to a couple of different companies about that as we move forward through this series. Okay.
It's not bad for your first time training a business owner on how to change their mindset. So you did a great job. Didn't he do a great job for his first time ever doing this? I'm kidding, of course. Great work, and we're very honored and privileged to have you on board. And we look forward to doing a lot of great things together and making a huge impact on the community as we unite to make the community a better, safer place to live, work, and play.
Well, I'm honored to be a part of the VIP Access, and more than anything, I'm excited about some of the causes as we launch these in local communities to really make a difference. Where everybody else gets stuck and they just talk about doing things, we're not going to be in a chat room raising awareness. Okay, raising awareness is a cop-out. No, we're going to go do stuff, and that's probably what excites me more than anything, and I'm excited to be part of it. So thank you for including me.
Yeah, you're right, and it's you hear me talk about this a lot, but there's three kinds of people in the world. There's a person that says, hey, look, there's a problem over there. Mm-hmm. And then the second kind of person says, hey, look, somebody should do something about that problem over there. And then there's the third kind of person in the world who just goes ahead and does that, just goes ahead and fixes and solves the problem and does something great. And that's definitely the category that we're all in here.
Wow, got to do amazing
We're not just going to
things.
Raise issues that are happening in our community or just look at issues that are happening in our community. We're going to do it. We're going to solve problems.
Yeah, well, I can't wait.
Yep.
I can't wait. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I appreciate it.
Thanks very
and
much.
look forward to seeing you back here soon. Okay.
Okay, take care.
All right.